Man, they come here enjoy landlord. It's VOP TV. Keep watching VOP TV. Don't touch it down. Even if you want to touch it down, increase the volume. If you don't increase the volume, I told me.
My name is Collins Agawabe, popularly known as No Maiden, but last, more than No Maiden. More. Not be also the cook right at the fry plantain. We keep on watching VOP TV. The voice of the people, the voice of Edo. If you want to get the authentic news for Edo, the way it be, that's why they show and all they cut anything come on at VOP TV.
Welcome to the locker room, the home of football talk that matters. I am Jerry Ampelon. Join us every weekday, Monday to Friday at 5 p.m. Nigerian time, as we share the hot takes and hot debates in the exciting world of football. And joining me are the usual suspects, Ikechukwu and Mayowa, as we break down all the hot takes and everything that's happening in the football. Don't just watch football, live it with us. Catch us on the locker room and Voice of the People television at 5 p.m. Nigerian time. And like I always say, if not 20 minutes off, please discuss.
In a world where power shifts with every headlines, news breaks and events happens, we bring you unbiased and explicit information on politics, economy and state of the nation. We break down the chaos. Facts, not fluff. Truth, not spin. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Join Moses, Chukuma and Fina on Voice of the People TM. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I. From social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count. In a world where truth is the ultimate power and opinions scream the loudest, it's time to wade through the noise.
Hunger no get drive! Hunger no get religion!
And scan the human interest and trending topics that matter. Stay tuned to The Issues, your plug to the stories making the buzz, from politics to science and technology, social justice, and more. Let's tackle the tough questions and expose the truth. The Issues, on Voice of the People Television, Mondays to Fridays, 8 to 9 p.m. The Issues. Don't just react, understand.
Hello there, my name is Damilola Ogunsi, also known as the Goldfish.
Hi, my name is Chiki Bright Emmanuel. I'm an actor and a filmmaker.
Hello peeps, my name is Yomi.
Well, hello and welcome to the African News on Voice of the People Television. I am David Edwin. Before we begin the news, we would urge you to kindly visit our website www.vop.ng for fresh and trending news stories. We'll begin the African news from the story where the United Kingdom has sanctioned senior commanders of the Rapid Support Forces, RSF, suspected of heinous violence in El Fasher, Sudan, including mass killing, systemic sexual violence, and deliberate attacks on civilians. Those targeted includes Abdul Rahim Dagalo, the RSF deputy leader and brother of RSF leader General Hemditi, as well as 3 other commanders suspected of involvement in these crimes, who all now face asset freezes and travel bans. It's called for an immediate end to atrocities, the protection of civilians, and the removal of barriers to humanitarian access by all parties to the conflict. It has also stepped to respond to the crisis in Sudan with an additional £21 million to provide food, shelter, health services, and protection for women and children in some of the hardest to reach areas. It noted that the RSF actions in El Fasher are not random, but are part of a deliberate strategy to terrorize population and seize control through fear and violence, stating that the impact of their action is visible from space. And in Sudan, South Sudan has announced a 3-party agreement with the Sudanese army and the paramilitary Rapid Support Forces, that's the RSF, to place security at the Higlig oil field under the control of South Sudan People's Defense Forces, that's the SSPDF. According to government spokesperson Ateni, the agreement on Higlig oil field, which is located in West Kordofan near the border between the two countries, grants the SSPDF primary security responsibility for the oil installation. Ateni told the media in the South Sudan capital, Juba, that President Salva Kiir brokered the deal after speaking with leaders on both sides of the Sudanese conflict to urge a halt to the clashes around the oil field. He further explained that the accord requires both the Sudanese army and the RSF to withdraw from the area. However, neither the Sudanese authorities nor the RSF had commented on the reported agreement as set filing this report. In another development, President of Rwanda, Paul Kagame, has alleged Burundi's military involvement in the conflict in South Kivu province of the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, saying that the soldiers deployed there spent days shielding civilians. Burundi formally deployed its troops to Congo in 2023, ostensibly to help government forces combat the M23 rebel group. At some point, Burundi's president, Evariste Ndayishimiye, defended the deployment, saying the soldiers were there to protect Burundi against its insurgents based in Congo. However, Kagame said that recent events in Uvira revealed thousands of Burundian soldiers operating in Uvira, Nimembe, Kilemie, Kendu, and others who had moved to Walikali and Kisangani. He stated that over 20,000 Burundian soldiers have been deployed to Congo, some in North Kivu's Goma and Rutshuru localities. Querying how such a large Burundian force entered Congo, Kagame said that they spend their days shielding people in Nimembwe with artillery and drones, while the international community kept silent. Meanwhile, Chairman of the African Union Commission, Mahmoud Youssef, has called for restraints in the clashes in the Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo's South Kivu province, regretting the violence perpetrated against civilians. In a statement, Youssef called on all stakeholders to exercise restraint and prioritize a political solution, noting that the recent clashes and violence run counter to the momentum generated by the Doha Framework Agreement between Congo and AFC, that's the M23, as well as the United States brokered peace deal between Congo and Rwanda. This came after the South Kivu government spokesperson Bashizi Didier Kabuya, had said that over 413 victims, including women and children and young people, were killed by bullets, grenades and bombs in different localities in Uvira territory. The same day, the M23 rebels claimed they have seized Uvira, a key commercial hub close to the border with Burundi, which served as a temporary capital of South Kivu province after days of fighting with government forces. Kabuya said the capture of Uvira led to a major humanitarian crisis with over 200,000 persons forced to flee their homes. And in Sudan, the International Organization for Migration, that's the IOM, said that 330 more Sudanese civilians have been displaced from Kadugli, the capital of South Kordofan, amid attacks by the paramilitary rapid support forces, that's the RSF. Concerned at the new displacement moves since Tuesday, the United Nations agency said the displaced civilians were fleeing to various locations in the Al Rahad and Shekern districts in North Kordofan due to worsening insecurity. The organization warned that the situation remained highly tense and extremely volatile. In the contrary, however, Sudanese authorities said that the situation in Kadugli remains calm. According to the executive director of Kadugli locality, Bashir Omar, the armed forces and security bodies were operating to maintain security and stability in the area. He called on Kadugli residents to disregard what he called rumors and misleading information that could undermine public reassurance. In other developments, the Secretary General of the United Nations, Antonio Guterres, has urged Eritrea and Ethiopia to recommit to the agreement that formally ended hostilities between the two Horn of African nations 25 years ago. In a statement by spokesperson Stefan Dujarric, Guterres warned that renewed tensions could undermine regional peace. Guterres, who spoke at the 25th anniversary of the Algiers Agreement on December the 12th, said it was a landmark peace treaty that formally ended the broader conflicts between Eritrea and Ethiopia and established a crucial framework for peaceful relations between the two nations, noting that the treaty served to create mechanisms for demarcating the common border. He reaffirmed the fundamental principles of sovereignty and territorial integrity for both nations with the support of the international community. The UN chief further called on both sides to continue working with regional and international partners to advance development cooperation for the benefits of all. Eritrea and Ethiopia signed the Algiers Agreement after the two neighbors fought a bloody war in 1998 to 2000, resulting in the deaths of about 70 to 80,000 persons on both sides. And in South Africa, United States legislators are considering stronger measures against South Africa's continued participation in the African Growth and Opportunity Act, AGOA. This followed indications by the U.S. Trade Representative Ambassador Jamieson Greer that Pretoria could be treated differently from other African countries in the renewed trade initiative. Questioned by Republican Senator John Kennedy at the Senate Appropriations Subcommittee hearing regarding South Africa's inclusion in the potential extension of AGOA, Greer agreed that when it comes to trade, South Africa is not a friend and has a lot of barriers. Greer explained that they have made it clear to South Africans that if they want to have a better tariff situation with the U.S., they would have to take care of the tariff and non-tariff barriers. Moving on to other stories, Ghana's President John Dramani Mahama has praised the long-standing relationship between Kenya and Ghana. invoking the historic friendship between independence icons Jomo Kenyatta and Kwame Nkrumah as a foundation that continues to shape cooperation between the two nations. Speaking during the Jumhuric celebrations on Friday, President Mahama said the people of Ghana stand in solidarity with their brothers and sisters in Kenya. He further noted that both countries share the histories, and have created an enduring bond rooted in the struggle for African liberation. Paying respect to the memory of the forebearers who fought for both nations' freedom, Mahama did say that sacrifice would not be taken for granted. You're still watching the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. We go straight to the analysis segment of the news, and joining us now to make sense of these stories and more is Dr. Peter Anosike. Dr. Peter is an economist, an erudite scholar on economics, finance, education, and government affairs. He's also a political and public affairs commentator and analyst, and like I said earlier, a major writer right here in Nigeria. Dr. Peter, good afternoon and thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me.
All right, and let's get to this situation. Interestingly, I want to start off with the situation in South Africa, where the government of United States, particularly Washington, is clearly stating that if, as it stands, South Africa desire to continue with the AGOA situation, extension rather, they might be forced to be treated differently from other African nations. What do you make of this? Now, owing to the fact that South Africa and Washington have not been in good terms in the past couple of months.
Yeah, Washington is not really happy with what South Africa is doing, especially with the BRICS. So that's all this started from, because America view BRICS as being against their interest. Right. Because the purpose, according to America, is to reduce the influence of donors. Right. So, and America joining such an organization with China, understand, one of them that's fighting America. You know, the main cause of squabbles in the world is trade.
Right.
All the troubles you are seeing anywhere in the world is money. Understand? It's money. Even in Nigeria, anywhere is money.
Yes.
So Donald Trump is not happy, and that's why he has imposed a lot of sanctions in South Africa. And again, Ramaphosa is persecuting white South Africans.
Now that again has been the major conversation, plus the fact that South Africa is clearly having a good relationship with the BRICS nation. But concerns have been raised about the fact that with the BRICS nation also having to be another major force that South Africa can do business with, why is the government of South Africa not specifically thinking of starting to do business with the BRICS nation? Because questions have been asked about the fact that should South Africa be taken off the AGOA agreement, who really would pay the higher price in all of this?
Well, the issue is this. BRICS control only about 35% of the world economy.
Well, does South Africa need much of that? Just a little, I guess, when it comes to the economy.
No. What I mean is that doing business with people who cannot afford you much.
Okay, all right.
65% is somewhere.
Right.
And you are dealing with people
who just have 35.
35. So it is not a right move. And again, South Africa is a very important country in Africa.
Right.
So it is influential in Africa, and America is not happy that it belongs to a different economic group. Understand me? And that's why they want to use sanctions to bring them back to where they feel that they should belong to.
Now, there is also the conversation, Doctor, about the fact that, yes, Ethiopia and some others have been stripped of the AGOA deal over human rights and war. Now, South Africa is looking like the next to be stripped of that position.
Because of the persecution of white South Africans.
White South Africans. Now, the question that comes to mind is the U.S. turning AGOA into a loyalty test rather than a development instrument that it has always been before now?
No, the world pursues two things, value and interest.
Okay.
And as they say, a friend of my enemy is my enemy. So
even when it comes to value and interest?
Sure. Understand me?
Okay.
South Africa doing business with China, who is fighting with United States.
Right.
Even if it's you, I understand. You will reduce your support to South Africa. So I understand what Washington is doing. So they believe that if the economy of South Africa begin to hurt them, understand, they will be forced to change their decision.
Now, is there any way, from your understanding, that South Africa can still find their way to maybe negotiate their way back into this system? I'm talking about the AGOA agreement. Should the United States take them off? Is there any way they can find their way around it?
You know, America is like the big brother of the world. Understand?
Right.
So whatever they focus on, they always get. So for South Africa, that's to be back in full means they also have to negotiate with the United States. Understand? They have to do some deal with the United States.
What's the impact of this statement by the U.S. Senator calling South Africa our enemy? Because that is the exact word.
Because they are dealing with they are in relationship with their enemy, with their biggest enemy, which is China. Now, that's why I say a friend of my enemy is my enemy.
Sure. But as it stands, Doctor, economically speaking, South Africa also have something to offer when it comes to agriculture and a little of the automobile, which they're trying to gather themselves together. Should the U.S. take South Africa off the AGOA agreement, how would that impact the economy of South Africa?
It will impact negatively on them. But mind you, their agriculture, their automobile means nothing to the United States. Understand? Their automobile is supposed to sell within Africa. They cannot export their cars to the United States. They cannot. Detroit is the biggest car manufacturing state in the world.
Yes.
So America cares less about their automobile, their agriculture, but they want them to do the right thing, to be good boy, to be on their on the same page with them.
Okay then, well, we definitely will keep our eyes on that particular conversation as it progresses. Now let's jump to another one, Doctor. Interestingly, Antonio Guterres, I'm talking about the Secretary General of the United Nations, has called on both Ethiopia and Eritrea to respect, the agreements that, of course, they signed many years ago, 25 years ago precisely. What do you make of these conversations, particularly on the part that the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres is sounding like he's begging these two nations? Can there be sanctions? Should anyone break that agreement?
For me, I believe in enforcement. When you do something, you have to enforce it, because human beings are by nature stubborn.
Right.
They need to be guided. They need to be regulated. Understand? When you remove laws from human beings, they behave like cows. Understand me? So that for me, he is begging them because the conflict is affecting the poor masses. It is crippling their economies, even though there's no more there's an outright war between Ethiopia and but once in a while there's always clashes that kills people. Understand me? So he should beg them.
Sorry about that.
He should beg them that in the interest of peace and the prosperity of the two countries.
Now, he did send that letter, and again, the questions are being raised about the fact that such letter to these countries seem to be less powerful than what a sanction would do, because the political mood in Addis Ababa, sorry about that, the political mood in Addis Ababa and Asmara, I'm talking about Eritrea, is quite different. It's quite different. So if this political body language of these two actors is saying something different, shouldn't the UN look for maybe stricter sanctions to place on anyone who disregards and disrespects that agreement that was signed 25 years ago?
You know, the purpose of reminding them of the agreement.
Yes.
Agreement means commitment.
Yes.
I'm committed to peace. Understand?
Right.
So the issue is this: UN has the power to sanction any country that deviates from agreement. And for me, this is what I expect them to do, because the truth is that it is not the people in government that are feeling the brunt of this. It is the poor people.
Yes.
The ordinary masses. And a lot of the time, sanction don't affect those in government. It still trickles down to the people.
To the people.
And that's why UN doesn't go all out. Understand? That's to sanction countries.
Okay.
Because those in power, those that are neglecting the agreement are comfortable. They can eat what they want. They can buy what they want. But in this situation, that's why at times they use this travel ban,
right,
which hurts them directly. So, but I still feel that UN should impose sanctions on the leaders, those that signed this agreement and has failed to abide by it.
All right, now on the part of economy, Doctor, I would like you to help Africans understand what exactly should this level of disrespecting the agreement bring to these two countries, because some have said that trade and jobs are supposed to have been, boosted by this kind of agreement, and the people enjoy the dividend of these agreements since 25 years, and yet it's looking more like Ethiopia is plunged into a war in Tigray. Eritrea is on one part becoming a garrison state. How can this?
What we are seeing is an economic strangulation on the part of the two countries, because they are neighboring countries. They share the same border.
Yes.
So, assuming that, and where there's no peace, there can never be development. But assuming that they had maintained this agreement, there would have been a kind of an improvement in trade and commerce between these two countries,
okay,
which will help to boost the economy of the two countries. But now Eritrea is at the losing end, because of its geographical location.
Right.
Because of its geographical location, they cannot do much, even export. Understand?
Okay.
Because of because of their geographical location. So it is Ethiopia that is now using its might, strength, development to punish Eritrea.
Now, there's also the conversation, Doctor, about the fact that, yes, Ethiopia is still clamoring to have full access to the Red Sea, which again has been a major conversation on the part of Algeria saying, no, we are closer to it than you guys are. Now, interestingly as it sounds, the UN has urged Eritrea and Ethiopia to work with regional and international partners, which of course is going to, according to the UN, yield up some level of development. But with that call by the UN to start doing some level of regional negotiations with international partners, would that in any way bring to the clear view of the world the external players profiting from these permanent squabble within these two countries?
For me, if AU is really functioning, if AU is really active,
yes,
they ought to have served as mediator between Eritrea and Ethiopia. These are brothers right from time before they decided to go their separate ways.
Yeah.
Understand? So they have been brothers. They have been sharing a relationship, marriage, and so on and so forth. They have the same culture. Understand? So the AU would have mediated and they ensure that peace reigns between the two brotherly countries. But or they are not doing anything about it. That's why a UN has now decided to intervene. If not, this is what the AU should have solved. Call the president of Eritrea and Ethiopia to a round table with other African presidents, and this issue will be ironed out.
It's interesting you did mention the AU, and interestingly, the AU clearly is talking particularly on the situation between DRC and Rwanda. Some have said that this continental body clearly is showing how very powerless it is for Washington and Doha to have sat together to now bring these two warring factors together. But from your perspective, Doctor, do you think that the AU is presently trying to find her feet by making these statements, clearly talking to the hearts of these two warring factors?
We understand that these are two sovereign nations.
Yes.
Understand? So you have to respect their sovereignty, but this is also Africa, understand? You shouldn't allow that anybody to be behaving anywhere he wants, because these are two countries, and the AU is bigger than the two countries involved. Understand?
Right.
AU as a body is bigger than the two countries involved, and any crisis in that's in any of the countries, any major crisis would snowball into all the countries in Africa.
Okay.
Assuming if anything should happen to Nigeria with a population of 200 million, no country in Africa
that would get a part of the share
would be that is same. Understand? It's going to affect the economy of any country in Africa.
Okay.
So that's why a lot of times you don't just fold hand and say it's their country, let them do what they want.
Now, on the part of sovereignty, just like you mentioned earlier, has the AU done well enough to have wanting to calling these people together, and most importantly as well, looking for a better solution before Doha and Washington came into the picture? Even though they've come into the picture, Doctor, you are aware that over 400 civilians have been killed even after the agreement had been signed in Uvira.
Peace agreement is not doesn't come within 24 hours. It takes a process.
Yes.
But the most important thing is to start that peace process.
Okay.
It will take time. It will take time, but assuming that AU has done what they are supposed to do or is doing enough, foreign powers will not have come in.
Okay.
Foreign powers will not have come in. Has there been any crisis in Europe that the AU mediated? The answer is no.
None that we can talk about.
So it's because of they are not doing what they are supposed to do, or they have not done what they are supposed to do, that the United States and Arab countries say, let us go move in and solve this problem.
Now, Doctor, in 2012, we saw M23 take over the city of Goma, and of course, the world responded with a UN intervention. As we speak right now, the commercial hub of Uvira, still in the eastern part of DRC, have been taken over by the M23 rebels. Again, this is another takeover by these rebels after the signing path in Washington. Doctor, is there a clear path in this conversation of ceasefire between Rwanda and DRC?
For me, that's why I'm a student of enforcement. After signing an agreement, you don't leave the people on their own. That agreement should be enforced. Okay. And whoever fails to abide by the agreement should face sanctions. Understand? Whoever fails to partake, that to live up to the agreement.
Yes,
so I'm expecting the United, even though America don't always like losing their soldiers in other countries.
Right.
Understand?
Right.
So I should have expected them that is to take action on those that are defaulting on the agreement that they signed.
Doctor, before I let you go, Burundi is being accused by Paul Kagame that they are part of the people fighting the M23 rebels because according to Kagame, 20,000 Burundian soldiers were seen in DRC having to battle. That figure, 20,000 soldiers, how true do you think that statement can be? Plus, Burundi has also said we were only guarding our borders from these external terrorists getting into our country. What's the position with this conversation?
To me, M23 is a terrorist organization. Understand?
Okay.
It is not. They are not government. So I wonder why Paul Kagame will keep on defending and protecting them. Understand? So what Burundi is doing is to make sure that this fight doesn't escalate into their own country.
Right.
Understand? Then just have a mental imagination of 20,000 people. That's a whole town. So for me, Kagame should be called to order because he is helping to put Congo in disarray. M23 is not a recognized government.
Right.
So why should he be supporting them?
But he has said that he's only trying to protect the Tutsi people, his people, in DR Congo. How is that possible? In a sovereign state, you're going to protect a particular people who you call your people. Doctor?
That shows he is meddling in the affairs of other countries. And that's what is happening now between China and Taiwan, which the world that is against. Understand me? So he should be called to order because on several occasions he has been accused of causing the war in Congo. Understand?
Yes.
So he should be called to order. He should be sanctioned.
Oh, well, before I let you go in 30 seconds, Doctor, we understand that over 300 persons from Sudan has been displaced from South Kordofan a city that again has been ravaged with war, with the RSF and of course the army. What do you make of this, Doctor? It's becoming one too many. 300 already displaced.
For me, since there are efforts at making peace, this peace should be enforced. Because I was reading what a USM congressman was talking about Nigeria. Understand that America was native in Rwanda, was native in Congo DR. They shouldn't be native in Nigeria. Understand? And you should understand what that means. Whatever needs to be done quick.
All right then, because of our time, really, this is where we have to draw anchor on the analysis segment of the African News. We've been talking with Dr. Peter Anosike, a major economist and a writer right here in Nigeria, financial, I want to call him a financial expert because he's really, really strong on that part. An erudite scholar with education, government, and of course, finance. I want to say thank you so very much, Dr. Peter, for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We'll take a very short break right now. When we return, more stories on the African News will be up next. Please do stay with us.
Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I, from social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice.
Glad to have you back. It is still the African News right here on Voice of the People Television. Now to more stories. The Lusaka Magistrates Court has ruled that a Lusaka man accused of cyber harassing presidential policy advisor Chipo Nwandamwasa has a case to answer. Magistrate Ida Firi found that the state had established a prima facie case against Joseph Shishimba, 33 years of age, of Jack Township, and subsequently placed him on his defense. Shishimba is charged with the publication of information contrary to Section 54 of the Cybersecurity and Cybercrimes Act No. 2 of 2021. He pleaded not guilty to the charge at the start of the trial. Prosecutors allege that between October 9th and October 14th, 2024, Shishimba used a registered phone number to post a screenshot of a WhatsApp group named Zambian Politics. In her ruling, Magistrate Firi stated that the evidence presented, if contested, could sustain a conviction, adding that the finding of a prima facie case shifts the legal burden to the accused to answer the charges against him. Meanwhile, units of the Shawarari People's Liberation Army, that's the SPLA, have reportedly targeted enemy fortification in the Hausa sector, causing losses in lives and properties. A communique by the Ministry of the National Defense highlighted that advanced units of the army carried out a concentrated bombardment targeting enemy bases and fortification in Fridet Lagrab and Fridet El Ak areas in the Hausar sector. That's the watching the African news right here on Voice of the People television. We'll go on a very short break right now. When we return, more stories in African business and sports will be up next. Please stay with us. Glad to have you back. It is still the African news right here on Voice of the People television. Now to some business stories. Prime Minister Mustafa Madbouli says Egypt's top priority for 2026 remains decreasing overall and external debt in collaboration with the Central Bank of Egypt as macroeconomic indicators improves and exports and domestic production increases. Speaking after the weekly cabinet meeting, Madbouli outlined the state's debt management strategy, which he said will be released soon. According to him, the country aims to reduce its debt to GDP ratio to below 75% within 3 years, noting that this reduction will allow the allocation of more funds for health and education. He listed other beneficiaries to include the Universal Health Insurance System, where funding has already exceeded 48 billion Egyptian pounds, as well as the Decent Life Rural Development Program. Egypt has recently joined the Japan-led Universal Health Coverage Knowledge Hub to help the low and middle income countries strengthen their health systems through capacity building and knowledge exchange. The Prime Minister further noted that President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi has instructed, providing major incentives to enhance economic growth, citing the recent launch of the batch of tax facilitations. And to wrap up the African news, we go straight talking some sports. Comoros and Zambia have each revealed their final squad for the upcoming African Cup of Nations AFCON finals in Morocco. Comoros, the smallest nation in the tournament, will be fielding a 26-man squad, primarily composed by foreign-based players, largely drawn from the Comorian diaspora in France. Coach Stefano Cousin's selection includes uncapped Amir Zed and Kari Yanis, who both play in the French fourth tier. 7 players from their impressive 2021 AFCON campaign, where they risked the last 16 in return, including 36-year-old striker El Faroud Nabohan. Comoros kick off their tournament against host Morocco on December the 21st in Rabat, and will also face Mali and Zambia in Group A. On their part, Zambia's 28-man squad, announced by coach Moses Sihon, including 18-year-old David Hamansaya and Elia Mandaji. The others include 19-year-old Joseph Liteta, who plays for Cagliari in Serie A, and Joseph Sabobo Banda. 14 players from the last AFCON, where Zambia exited in the group stage, were retained. Zambia began their campaign against Mali on December the 22nd in Casablanca, before also playing Comoros and Morocco. Still talking sports, the African Development Bank, that's the AFDB, said it will lend Morocco 270 million euros to finance upgrades to the country's airport infrastructure in time for hosting the 2030 FIFA World Cup. Morocco plans to invest 38 billion dirhams, about $4 billion, to increase overall passenger capacity at its airports from 38 million currently to 80 million by 2030, as it prepares for a surge in tourist arrivals ahead of the World Cup, which it will co-host with Spain and Portugal. Morocco, Africa's most visited country last year, has already set a new tourism record in 2025, reporting 18 million arrivals in November compared with 17.4 million for all of 2024. According to the AFDB, the loan will help expand passenger terminals and modernize equipment at airports in the key tourist hubs of Marrakesh, Agadir, Tangier, and Fez. The financing from AFDB's total commitments to Morocco this year to 1.3 billion euros, reinforcing the country's position as the bank with the largest clients. And with that sports story, we've come to the end of African News right here in Voice of the People Television. Do well to subscribe to our YouTube channel. On YouTube, we are at Voice of the People TV, and on all other social media platforms, we are at VOP TV Live. Thank you so very much for being a part of this broadcast. I am David Edwin. Do have a good afternoon.
Do you want your voice to be heard? Do you know that you matter in the scheme of things? The People's Voice, the show where ordinary citizens take center stage as we discuss the biggest stories that affect you and I. With you in mind, we facilitate lively discussions, debates, and interviews on the topics that matter most to you and I. From social justice to economic empowerment, education to healthcare, governance, and more. Tackling tough topics and amplifying your voice. Join the conversation and make your voice count. The People's Voice. Make your voice count. The red carpets, awards, the razzmatazz, music, fashion, interviews, and more. Spotlight on Voice of the People Television. Let's feed you with all the juicy stories in the global entertainment space, bringing you the glitz and glamour as they hot. Stay tuned to Spotlight, 1 p.m. Monday to Friday. Spotlight on VOP TV. Entertainment like never before.
In a world where power shifts with every headlines, news breaks and events happens, we bring you unbiased and explicit information on politics, economy, and state of the nation. We break down the chaos. Facts, not fluff. Truth, not spin. We discuss not just politics, but a glimpse into the future. Join Moses, Chukuma, and Fina on Voice of the People TM. Voice of the People Television. Now you have more than a voice.
Join us as we drive into the world of politics through insightful interviews with prominent political figures, both serving and former governors, ministers, senators, legislators, party chieftains, activists, and analysts. Get first-hand information into the decision-making processes that affect our daily lives. Highly engaging 1-hour program